As Johnny said, we're going to talk a little bit about the client side of things, the service user side of things. So that's a bit of my role. So as he said, I work for Gwalia Care and Support, been there for 13 years now, and I've taken a more of a central role recently, which has involved me being a part of the Quality Ambassadors project, which we're going to come on to. But also in terms of our involvement in inclusion strategy, how we involve our clients, how we involve the people that we work with in terms of reviewing our services, and how we engage them in our services, how we listen to them. So it's a very exciting role, it's a very interesting role. And the first thing I can say is I can't take the credit for a lot of the work here because it was already up and running before I became involved. But it's a fantastic package of programme to involve our service users. Just in terms of Gwalia Care and Support in general, we're Wales's largest provider of supported accommodation, and we work right way across from Monmouthshire to Pembrokeshire up to Welshpool with a wide variety of people. So we do have mental health services, we do have services for young people, care leavers, offenders, people from substance misuse problems. But saying that, the one thing that we really don't want to do is actually view people in terms of those categories at all. And over the last year, 18 months, we've been reviewing our approach to working with people. And yes, we do have projects and we call them mental health projects, but what we really want to do is see the person first. And we call that our VIP approach, which did have a very well thought out and very complicated way of looking at it in terms of vision, investment and performance. But actually VIP stands for very important people, and that's what we work with. It's very easy to think in terms of services, it's very easy to think in terms of it being a business, but actually if it wasn't for the people that we worked with, we wouldn't exist as an organisation. So what we've done in our approach is to remind ourselves of that. We work with VIPs, we work with very important people. So if we do that, well, if they're important, what does that mean? Well, we work with the person, that we put them first, we build services around them. We find out about that person, what's that person able to do, rather than seeing them in terms of a diagnosis, seeing them in terms of a list of crimes they've committed, seeing them as a list of substances they've misused. First of all, you see them as an individual, as a person, and see them as potential. Now, we're all here today in this room because somebody saw potential in us, somebody saw something in us which maybe we hadn't recognised. I'm here today because of investment, of people seeing that there was potential in me and investing in me, whether that was through school, whether that was through my parents, whether that was through my line managers saying, why don't you go for that job? You could do that job. So people have invested in us, people have seen potential in us, but do the people that we work with, have they experienced that same investment? Have those people seen that, have had that potential recognised in them? So VIP is something that we feel kind of sums that up a little bit, that we work with very important people. And why I wanted to say that, I hadn't really planned on saying that, but as I was kind of thinking about this, I thought, well actually, that's really important because that's the context from which this project came from, the Quality Ambassadors project. So I will move along to that. And we're also in a very dangerous situation that I'm a man without a clock in the room. So I'll try and keep things going.
I'll remind you.
You'll remind me. There's a rubber band you can flick at me if I go on for too long. But the Quality Ambassadors project started 3 years ago, as I said, before I was actually involved. And it started as a partnership between Care and Support and TPAS Cymru. And at that time we were looking at, how can we hear from the people that we work with? How can we consult them on our services? How can we get that feedback that we don't get at the moment? So yes, we did quality assurance audits. I would go out in my suit and talk to people about their services and what it meant to them. Was I getting a full response back from that? Probably not. So how do we invest in the people that we work with to be able to actually go back and talk to them about the services they receive? So from that, from the discussions with TPAS, from discussions with the people we work with, we developed this Quality Ambassador project. And the first thing we did was to set up a group of people that were interested in being involved, that wanted to be trained up, that wanted to go into our services and talk to other people about their experience. So the first thing we did was set the group up. And these were the objectives that were laid out. That we wanted a group of clients to be involved in assessing services. That in order to do that, and we talked about investment, in order to do that, then we had to make sure they had the skills and the confidence to be able to take that forward and to understand services, understand what we'd be looking for, what kind of things would be important as part of a review. And then the third thing, and this is the kind of stage where we're at now, is making sure that this approach is sustainable, so that we can do it as a pilot, we can run it as a one-off, but then how can we roll that out across the organisation in general. And these are our quality ambassadors. So out of an initial group of, I think it was an initial group of about 20 people that started the training, these 5 were the ones that went through the training and have been involved in reviewing the services since then. So we've been doing it now for about a year. So they've been going out with managers, and they've been going and talking directly to other people that receive the services about what it means to them, about what it's like to live in our project, what it's like to receive services from us, and to be able to get that direct feedback from them. So the training sessions, these are our revised ones, because we ran the initial programme, we ran the training sessions, and then following on from that, we went back to the quality ambassadors and said, okay, so the training plan that you went through, what was that like for you? Did it work? Did it cover everything that you needed? Were there things that we need to review? So what we've got there is the revised training package that was reviewed with the quality ambassadors. And as you can see, there's certain things that you need to cover initially. It's just, what is the project all about? Do they know what they've signed up for? Do they know what they've committed themselves to? So a very brief overview of the project, the Quality Ambassadors project. Then the next session is looking at, well, what is our process? What does that mean? So you're going to do a QA with somebody. So you're going to be allocated to another manager. What does that look like? What does that mean? So we take them through the process. And the process is that every manager that is going to be doing a review will be allocated 2 of the Quality Ambassadors, and we'll meet with them and we'll engage with them to make sure that they understand the service that they go into. They will then, on the day, will go out to that service, and the 2 quality ambassadors will meet the people that are receiving that service on their own. We make sure that there's not managers and staff and other people around that might skew their answers, or might wish them to give a particular answer to a particular question. So we make sure that the quality ambassadors are with those service users, those clients, and have the opportunity for an open and frank discussion about those services. Then once that's taken place, the quality ambassadors feed that information back to the manager. And there might be that things on the day need to be rectified. If they feel that they've discovered something about the service that needs immediate to be looked at immediately, then that might need to take place. Otherwise, their feedback will then be included in a final report that goes back to the service, that goes to senior management on that service. And the quality ambassadors have the opportunity to read over that report before it's finally submitted, so that they will have the opportunity to say whether it was reflected properly in the information they'd fed back, and whether it was properly captured. So that is the process in a nutshell. So that's explained to them. Now on the second session, that will be gone through. They'll understand what the process is. Then what we found was the major part of the training was around communication, understanding that they knew how to communicate properly, that around listening skills, around questioning techniques, around using open questions, and just making sure that we give enough time to really cover that, because not every person that you will talk to will give you a long answer from a question. Sometimes you might just get, one-off words or something. And, well, how do you explore that? How do you pull that out? What are the skills to be able to do that? And I know from my experience before we were using quality ambassadors of going into services and getting one-word answers or sometimes one-word grunts back at you. Well, how do you handle that? It's not easy as a manager. So as a person who will also receive services from us, how do you get those answers back? How do you facilitate that conversation and that dialogue? So we spend quite a lot of time on that. We also then cover things around the code of conduct. So what happens if you turn up to the service and you already know the person that you're going to be talking to? What are the kind of issues? What are the do's and don'ts? Do you talk about where you live? Do you not? Do you give people your own phone numbers? All these kind of things that as professionals we would understand. We can't take it for granted that the people that we work with have that same understanding as well. So code of conduct is really important, as is safeguarding. So you could go into a service and somebody could tell you about something that's going on or experience that they've had. We need to make sure that those people going in are prepared for that. The last thing I would want is for anybody to be in a situation where they find that something is being disclosed to them and they haven't had any kind of information about what to do with that. What do I do with information if somebody starts to tell me that they've been abused by somebody else in the project or somebody outside of that? So we make sure that safeguarding is covered as part of that training as well. And the post-training is basically if there's anything else they need us to go over with them. So they've had the session 1 to 6, but it's an opportunity for the trainers to meet one-to-one with them, just to reassure them, have you got everything from this that you need? What we've also built into this is that it's backed up by their own support plans as well, so that every training session they have an opportunity to say, oh yeah, I need to work on this. And they take that back and they give that to their support worker, and that's then added into their support plan, so it's being backed up continually. And the post-training is an opportunity to sit down and say, have you got everything? Have you covered everything in your support plans? Do you feel ready to now go and start conducting the interviews as part of the QA?
10.
Yes.
5 minutes.
5 minutes?
That's
Yep.
maximum, yeah.
Okay. So this is just some of the training sessions that we undertook just to show what was going on. So I already covered this anyway. So that's how it works, how they're allocated, how they're briefed, feedback. And also that they have the site with the report for it. It's finalised. What we found, a bit of a side effect really, of having done the training with people, having given them skills, confidence especially, we actually found, well, you know what, now we've got this resource on hand, we can use them in lots of different ways. And what you find is they're really keen to do that as well. So we've involved them in consultation exercises outside of the QAs. Client satisfaction survey, they did some face-to-face interviews with people who weren't able to just complete a form or do it online or over the phone. We've also used them for interviewing our support staff when we're doing recruitment. Interesting one, we were actually, as an organisation as a whole, we're tendering out for a new maintenance contract. And one of the quality ambassadors you saw there, George, used to be a farmer. He's got good background, good knowledge, and was actually on the panel for the maintenance contract tender, and was fully involved in that. And we recently recruited a new director of support, and again they were on a quality ambassador panel. And the feedback we had were they were some of the most. They came up with their own questions, and they were some of the most challenging questions that the interviewers had come across. In questions about welfare and changes and efficiencies and emotional intelligence, and these were all questions that they'd come up with themselves. So fantastic exercise in using them that way. The benefits is. It's quite simple really. Our services are now being assessed by the people that use them. They know what to look for going into a project, talking to somebody maybe in their own home. They know much better than us what it's like. They know the things that are important to them, so they know the things that they're looking out for. Also the feedback we've had is that on the other side of it, the people that are being interviewed as part of the process find it much easier talking to another person that's in another service rather than talking to a manager and somebody coming in, as I've said, in my suit to sit down and talk with them in their home. Well, actually they find it easier talking to a peer rather than a manager. And I think one of the huge things is what they've benefited as individuals from it, from the confidence that they've got, the skills that they've got, the fact that they're keen to be involved in other ways as part of it has been a huge benefit as part of the whole. This is, as you saw earlier, Marjorie is one of our quality ambassadors, and I just want to leave you with a short clip with her talking about her experience and what she's gained from being part of the Quality Ambassadors project.
I've lived happily at the Gwalia project for 19 years. Gwalia and its staff have transformed my life with supporting me to maximise my full potential. I used to suffer with low self-esteem and depression, but feel that this is all in the past, and by being part of the Quality Ambassadors programme, I've grown as a person. I learned to be empathetic, non-judgmental, to think about what the person is saying rather than how I'm going to reply. The importance of good listening skills, to listen as well as to talk, to look but not to stare, and understanding people's body language. I feel empowered and more emotionally aware. I've also gained confidence in interacting with others. I've met some really nice, interesting people. Some people have been through so much in life, but with Gwalia's support, their lives, including mine, has been transformed. It's a good feeling to know that I may be of help to others, and being part of the Quality Ambassador process has enabled me to meet, interact with, and help others that may not be so happy about where they live, or hope for some changes. The quality assurance experience is interesting and helpful, and being part of the team has enabled me to interact and meet new people.
So that was Marjorie, Cat was Gypsy, and the man that was there is Tim, who actually has done a lot of the work in working with the Quality Ambassadors themselves. So, as I say, Tim should take credit for this because he's done an awful lot, Tim Barker.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.